Ada's key was still in the lock when she heard the laughter. Not her children's laughter, that she would recognize anywhere. This was a woman's voice, bright and easy, coming from somewhere deep inside the house. Ada froze on the doorstep, bag still in hand, confusion stitching itself across her face. She'd only been gone 3 days. 3 days at a conference in Abuja that she'd cut short because she missed her family too much to stay away. She pushed the door open slowly. The laughter came again, followed by the clatter of a spoon against a pot. Ada's heartbeat picked up. She stepped into the hallway, and that's when she smelled it. Jollof rice. Fresh, fragrant, with that faint burn at the edges that only came when someone knew what they were doing. "Tommy, bring the salt, baby." Ada's breath caught. The voice was unfamiliar but warm, like it had every right to be there. She dropped her bags by the stairs and moved toward the kitchen, each step lighter than the last, her mind scrambling to make sense of what she was hearing. And then she saw her. A woman stood at the stove, stirring a pot with the confidence of someone who had done this 100 times before. She was dressed simply, jeans and a white blouse. But there was something about the way she moved, the ease in her posture, that made Ada's stomach twist. Before Ada could speak, Tommy came running in from the living room, a small container of salt in her hand. She was giggling, her braids bouncing. "Here, Mama." Ada's world tilted. Tommy handed the salt to the woman. The woman smiled, ruffled Tommy's hair, and said, "Good girl." Then Jay appeared, trailing behind his sister with a juice box in hand. He looked up at the woman and grinned. "Mama, can I have more juice?" The woman turned, saw Ada standing in the doorway, and her smile faltered. Just a flicker, just enough to confirm that she knew exactly who Ada was. Ada's voice came out strangled. "What is going on?" Tommy spun around, eyes wide with surprise. "Mommy, you're back early." Jay squealed and ran to her, wrapping his small arms around her legs. But Ada couldn't move. She was staring at the woman by the stove, and the woman was staring back, calm and measured, like she'd been expecting this moment. Then Sam walked in. He came from the hallway leading to the backyard, phone in hand, and the second he saw Ada, his entire body went rigid. His eyes flicked between Ada and the woman. His mouth opened, but no sound came out. Ada found her voice. It was quiet. Too quiet. "Sam, who is this?" Sam's jaw worked. He looked at the woman, then back at Ada, and for the first time in 10 years of marriage, Ada saw her husband lost for words. The woman set down the spoon and wiped her hands on a towel. She stepped forward, and when she spoke, her voice was steady. "My name is Ruth." Ada blinked. "Ruth?" "Yes." Ruth glanced at Sam, then back at Ada. "I'm Sam's first wife." The words landed like stones. Ada felt her knees weaken. She grabbed the edge of the counter to steady herself. "His what?" Tommy tugged at Ada's skirt. "Mommy, are you okay?" Ada couldn't answer. She was staring at Sam now, waiting for him to laugh, to explain, to say something that would make this make sense. But Sam just stood there, his face pale, his hands hanging uselessly at his sides. Ruth cleared her throat. "I think I should go." "No." Ada's voice was sharp now, cutting through the air. "No, you stay right there." She turned to Sam, her chest heaving. What is she talking about? Sam finally moved. He took a step toward her, hands raised like he was approaching a wounded animal. "Ada, please, let me explain." "Explain what?" Ada's voice cracked. "Explain why there's a woman in my kitchen calling herself your wife? Explain why my children just called her mama?" Jay started to cry. Tommy pulled him close, her own eyes filling with tears. Ada's heart broke all over again, but she couldn't stop. She couldn't. Sam glanced at the kids, then at Ruth. "Ruth, please, take them to the living room." Ruth hesitated, then nodded. She gently took Tommy's hand. "Come on, sweetie, let's go watch something." Tommy looked back at Ada, confused and frightened, but she went. Jay followed, sniffling. The moment they were gone, Ada turned on Sam with all the fury she'd been holding back. "Talk. Now." Sam rubbed his face. "It's not what you think." "Then what is it, Sam?" "Because what I think is that you've been lying to me for 10 years. I haven't—" He stopped, exhaled hard. "Okay, yes. I didn't tell you everything." Ada laughed, but it was hollow. "Everything? You told me you had no past. You said you'd never been married before. You looked me in the eye and said that." "I know. So you lied. I didn't want to lose you." Ada stared at him, her anger giving way to something colder. "How long has she been coming here?" Sam didn't answer. "How long, Sam?" "A few months." "A few months?" Ada's voice rose. "And the kids, how do they know her? How do they know to call her mama?" Sam's silence was answer enough. Ada felt something inside her crack wide open. She sank into a chair, her legs finally giving out. "You've been bringing her around our children. You've been teaching them to call another woman mama. And you didn't think I had a right to know?" "I was going to tell you." "When?" Ada's voice broke. "When, Sam? When were you going to tell me?" He didn't have an answer. Ada sat there, staring at the floor, trying to piece together the last 10 years of her life. Every late night Sam had claimed was work. Every time he'd taken the kids out for daddy time. Every time he'd looked her in the eye and told her he loved her. Had any of it been real? The front door opened, and Mama Sam walked in, her face already set in that expression Ada had come to know too well, tight-lipped disapproval, like Ada was the one causing trouble just by existing. "I heard shouting," Mama Sam said, looking between them. Then she saw Ruth standing awkwardly near the hallway, and her face softened. "Ah, Ruth, you're still here?" Ada's head snapped up. "You knew?" Mama Sam sighed, like this was all very inconvenient. "Ada, sit down. Let's talk like adults." "I am sitting down." Ada stood up. "And I'm asking you a question. Did you know about this?" Mama Sam waved a hand dismissively. "It's not a secret. Ruth is Sam's first wife. These things happen." Ada felt the room spin. "These things happen?" "Yes." Mama Sam folded her arms. "Sam married Ruth first. You came later. That's just how it is." "How it is?" Ada's voice was shaking now. "He told me he'd never been married. He lied to me. And you knew, and you said nothing." Mama Sam's expression hardened. "What was I supposed to say? That my son made a mistake? That he chose poorly the first time? You were good for him. I didn't want to ruin that." Ada stared at her, unable to believe what she was hearing. "So, you let me walk into a lie." "I let you walk into a marriage," Mama Sam shot back. "And you've had a good life, haven't you? A husband who provides, children, a home. What more do you want?" Ada laughed, but it was bitter and sharp. "I want the truth. I want to know that my life isn't built on sand." Ruth stepped forward then, her voice quiet. "Ada, I didn't come here to hurt you." Ada turned to her, eyes blazing. "Then why did you come?" Ruth hesitated. "Because Sam asked me to." The air went out of the room. Ada looked at Sam, and for the first time she saw him clearly. Not the man she'd married, not the father of her children, but a stranger who had built 2 lives and expected both women to live in them without question. "Why?" Ada's voice was barely a whisper now. Sam's shoulders sagged. "Because I didn't know how to let go. Ruth spoke up, her voice steady but sad. He told me he would fix things, that he would make it right. But he never did. He just kept both of us waiting. Ada felt tears prick her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. And the children? Ruth looked down. He said it would be good for them to know me, that I was part of their family, even if you didn't know it. Ada's hands clenched into fists. They're my children. I know, Ruth said quietly, and I never tried to take them from you. But Sam kept bringing them to me, and after a while, they started calling me Mama on their own. I didn't ask them to. Ada turned back to Sam. You used our children to keep your lie alive. Sam opened his mouth, but nothing came out. Ada grabbed her purse from the counter. I'm leaving. Ada, wait. No. She held up a hand. I'm taking the kids, and I'm leaving. And you're going to stay here and figure out which life you actually want, because you can't have both anymore. Mama Sam stepped forward. Ada, don't be foolish. Think about your children. Think about what people will say. Ada looked at her, and for the first time, she didn't feel afraid. I'm thinking about my children, and I'm thinking that I won't raise them in a house full of lies. She walked into the living room where Tommy and Jay were curled up on the couch, watching cartoons with wet eyes. Ada knelt down in front of them, her voice soft. Pack a bag, both of you. We're going to Auntie Ngozie's for a little while. Tommy's lip trembled. Are you and Daddy fighting? Ada's heart broke, but she smiled. We're figuring some things out, baby. But I promise you, everything's going to be okay. Jay climbed into her lap, burying his face in her shoulder. Ada held him tight, breathing in the smell of his hair, and for a moment she let herself feel everything, the grief, the rage, the betrayal. And then she stood up, wiped her eyes, and started packing. Because she didn't know what came next, but she knew one thing for certain: she was done living someone else's version of her life. 3 weeks later, Ada sat across from Ruth in a small cafe on the mainland. It had been Ruth who reached out, asking to meet. Ada had almost said no, but something in her, curiosity maybe, or exhaustion, made her agree. Ruth ordered tea. Ada ordered nothing. Thank you for coming, Ruth said. Ada didn't smile. What do you want? Ruth took a breath. I want to tell you the truth, the whole truth. Ada waited. Sam and I got married young, Ruth began. Too young. His family pushed it, my family pushed it, and we didn't know any better. It lasted 2 years before he left. No explanation, no divorce, just gone. Ada's jaw tightened. And then? And then I waited. Ruth's voice was soft. I waited because his family told me he'd come back, that he just needed time. And I believed them, because I didn't know what else to do. And when did he come back? Ruth looked down at her tea. He didn't. Not really. He came back just enough to keep me hoping. A visit here, a phone call there, money every few months. And every time he'd say he was going to fix things, that he'd make it official, either end it or bring me back properly. But he never did. No. Ruth met Ada's eyes. And then one day, he told me he'd gotten married again, to you. Ada felt her throat tighten. And you didn't say anything? What was I supposed to say? Ruth's voice cracked. I was angry. I was hurt. But I also still loved him, and I hated myself for it. So when he started bringing the kids around, I told myself it was enough, that maybe I could still be part of something, even if it wasn't what I'd wanted. Ada shook her head. You should have told me. I know. Ruth's eyes filled with tears. I know, and I'm sorry, but I was scared. Scared that if I told you, I'd lose even that small piece of him. And I know that's selfish, but it's the truth. They sat in silence for a long moment. Finally, Ada spoke. He lied to both of us. Ruth nodded. Yes. And he used both of us to get what he wanted. Yes. Ada exhaled, a bitter laugh escaping her lips. I thought I was the only fool. Ruth smiled sadly. We were both fools, but we don't have to keep being fools. Ada looked at her, really looked at her, and for the first time she didn't see an enemy. She saw another woman who had been hurt by the same man in different ways. What do you want now? Ada asked. Ruth wiped her eyes. I want to close the door on this chapter. I want to move on. And I want the kids to know that none of this was their fault. Ada felt something loosen in her chest. I want that too. They didn't become friends that day, but they became something else, two women who'd survived the same storm and were trying to find their way back to shore. 6 months later, Ada stood in front of a lawyer's office with a stack of papers in her hand. Divorce papers, custody agreements, financial settlements. It had taken months of fighting, months of Sam's family calling her stubborn and proud, months of sleepless nights wondering if she was doing the right thing. But when she looked at Tommy and Jay, when she saw how much lighter they seemed now that the secrets were gone, she knew she'd made the right choice. Sam had tried to win her back. He'd cried, he'd begged, he'd promised to change. But Ada had learned something in those long, painful months. Love without honesty wasn't love at all. It was control dressed up in pretty words. She signed the papers, handed them to the lawyer, and walked out into the sunlight. Tommy and Jay were waiting for her in the car, singing along to the radio. Ada slid into the driver's seat and smiled. Where to, Mommy? Tommy asked. Ada started the engine. Home. And for the first time in a long time, she meant it. If this story touched you, let us know in the comments. Have you ever had to rebuild your life after betrayal? Share your story. It might help someone else who's going through the same thing. And if you want more stories like this, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Thank you for watching, and remember, the truth might hurt, but it's the only foundation strong enough to build a real life on.